Titled, "The White Horse Knew the Truth and Risked Everything to Save Her." The morning sun filtered softly through a blanket of mist that clung to the emerald hills of Briarcliff Estate, a ranch so lavish it seemed to rise from a dream. Pristine stables stretched out in rows like pearls, and champion livestock grazed behind gilded fences. But behind the manicured hedges and imported marble walkways, something sinister was brewing. From the wide veranda of the main house, Grant Holloway, billionaire tycoon and sole owner of the estate, watched over the land like a god. He sipped his black coffee from a cup that cost more than most people's monthly wages. His tailored white shirt glowed against his tanned skin, his silver hair neatly combed. But his eyes, those cold, hawk-like eyes, scanned the grounds for one thing, and one thing only. The girl, Layla, just 6 years old, skipped near the paddocks with innocent joy, her faded dress brushing against dew-covered grass. Her laughter echoed as she spoke to her plush bunny, unaware of the heavy eyes that watched her every move. She had her mother's auburn curls, her father's ice-gray eyes. A child born from a past Grant had paid well to bury. A complication. An error. No one was supposed to know about Layla. Not his socialite wife, Clarice, who lounged in the breakfast room flipping through a luxury travel catalog. Not his business partners. Not the world. Grant had ensured Layla was hidden, tucked into the back quarters with Mrs. Derry, the housemaid who had quietly raised her. But lately, the child had begun to roam, to wander, to laugh too loud. And Clarice was beginning to ask questions. Grant couldn't afford mistakes. Not when an IPO was weeks away. Not when reporters were already sniffing. So today, he decided it would end. He walked briskly to the east pens, where the most aggressive animal on the estate was held, Brutus, a bull bred from a Spanish fighting line, a beast feared even by seasoned ranchers. His handlers kept him caged and tranquilized on rotation, but Grant had ordered no tranquilizers today. Only a latch to be nudged. Hidden behind the fencing, Grant waited until Layla was just steps from the outer fence, humming to her bunny, her tiny hand tracing the wood slats. Then he released the gate. The groan of rusted hinges echoed like a scream. Out thundered Brutus. Black as a storm and twice as furious, the bull hit the earth with force that shook the ground. His horns glinted in the sun, wicked curves sharpened by nature and time. And in a heartbeat, he locked eyes on the little girl. Layla froze. Her bunny dropped. Her mouth opened in silent terror. "Help! The bull's out!" Grant shouted, his voice high with false panic, but he didn't move. He didn't blink. He watched. From across the estate, ranch hands bolted into motion, dropping tools and grabbing ropes. But they were too far. Everyone knew they'd be too far. And yet, someone else had seen. Valor, a stallion so pure white he looked sculpted from moonlight, stood rigid at the edge of the southern field. He'd been grazing quietly, his reins loose on a fence post. But the moment Brutus charged, something changed in the horse's eyes. He reared, then ran. Faster than thought, he cleared a wooden gate in a single bound. His hoofs pounded like drums of war, closing the distance as Brutus bore down on the girl. Layla screamed, a sound swallowed by the wind. Then, Valor leapt. He placed himself between child and beast, his body a barrier, his heart a shield. Brutus skidded, furious, confused. Snorting rage, the bull circled, trying to flank. But Valor didn't flinch. The bull charged. The stallion dodged, spinning with dancer's grace, hoofs flashing, mane flying like a banner. He struck Brutus's flank with a brutal kick, sending the bull stumbling sideways. Then again, with even greater force. Layla crawled backward, shaking, crying, staring at the dance of death before her. She clutched her bunny, now stained with mud, and gasped at every turn of the fight. "Get him back. Miguel, the foreman, barked orders to the men, who had now arrived, roping gear and poles in hand. Still, they dared not interfere, not yet. The horse was holding the line. Meanwhile, Grant stepped forward, pretending panic, arms flailing, but his eyes betrayed him. Cold, calculating, furious at his plan, his clean solution was being trampled by a mere animal. It was then a voice rang out from beyond the property line. Valor! A truck door slammed. Boots hit the ground. Emmett Rowe, owner of the neighboring ranch, sprinted across the field. His jaw clenched as he watched his prized stallion defy death. He had lent Valor for a breeding consult. He hadn't expected this. As Emmett approached, he saw Layla curled on the ground, the white stallion keeping a bleeding bull at bay, and Grant Holloway standing too far back, too calm. It didn't sit right. Brutus, now maddened by pain, launched one final assault. Valor sidestepped, but not fast enough. A horn clipped his shoulder, tearing into muscle. Blood streamed down his flank, red against white, but still he stood. His body quivered, but his gaze never wavered. A guardian. A knight. Emmett slowed as he neared. Easy, boy. You've done enough. With whispered words and a calm rope, Emmett reached the horse. He laid a hand on Valor's quivering side and turned to the bull. Ranch hands closed in. Tranquilizer fired. Rope flew. Brutus was finally restrained. The chaos melted. And Layla, still trembling, got to her feet. She walked straight to Valor, tears streaking her face, and wrapped her tiny arms around his bleeding neck. He lowered his head to meet her. It was quiet. Still. Until Emmett turned to Grant, whose face now burned with barely contained rage. What kind of man? Emmett said low. Lets a bull get that close to a child? Grant scoffed. It was an accident. But Emmett's eyes said he knew better. And behind him, Miguel, who had seen the latch unfastened before the bull charged, exchanged glances with two other hands. The truth was forming, heavy as thunderclouds. The next day, Clarice left the estate. The media had questions, investigations began. And Layla? She stayed at the Rowe Ranch, where Valor, stitched and healing, stood watch over her every morning. They said the horse never let her out of sight again. Title: Runaway Girl Collapses Beside a Dying Elephant. No one expected what happened next. The rain fell in soft sheets over the edge of Wilder County, where the grass grew tall and secrets grew taller. Along an abandoned road near the woods, a lone figure trudged through the downpour, barefoot, soaked, and trembling. Lucy, just 10 years old, clutched a worn backpack with both hands. Her long braid was undone, her face bruised from tears and something older, something harder. She had run from a foster home again. Only this time, she wasn't going back. As the storm thickened, Lucy spotted something strange ahead, a shape lying in the field, massive and still. She approached, heartbeat stuttering, and gasped. An elephant. It was slumped on its side, one eye half open, its breath shallow. Rusted chains trailed from its legs, and faded paint streaked its wrinkled skin, signs of a circus long gone. Lucy dropped her bag. Instinct overrode fear. She crawled beside the beast, placing her tiny hand on its trunk. The elephant groaned, not in anger, but in pain. I'm here, she whispered, laying her cheek against its wet skin. I'm here now. 3 miles away, in a quiet barn-turned-clinic, Dr. Elijah Rivers, a 42-year-old wildlife vet, scrubbed surgical tools in silence. His eyes were dark-circled, his soul even darker. He hadn't treated an elephant since his wife died on a rescue mission in Thailand. After that, he closed the door to that chapter, closed his heart, until his phone rang. A breathless farm boy shouted over the line, "Doc, there's a girl passed out next to a dying elephant near Old Route 12. Elijah didn't wait. In 10 minutes, he was on the road, his battered Jeep barreling through the storm. Back in the field, Lucy had curled herself against the elephant's side, shielding it from the wind with her body. When Elijah arrived, the scene stole his breath. Not just the sight of the animal, a female, perhaps 50 years old, likely escaped or dumped by an illegal circus, but the child, thin, pale, barely conscious, wrapped around the creature like she'd known her all her life. Alara, Lucy whispered deliriously. That name. Elijah blinked. Alara was my wife's favorite elephant, he murmured. From the Thailand sanctuary. She used to talk about her all the time. He knelt beside them. Let's see if you've got one more miracle left in you, girl. The next 24 hours were chaos. Lucy was taken in, fed, and examined, refusing to leave the elephant's side. Elijah worked through the night, administering fluids, antibiotics, oxygen. He set up heaters, erected a tarp, and even played soft music through his phone. The elephant stirred. Her breathing steadied. And Lucy, she never left her side. By morning, the rain stopped. And so did the elephant's suffering. Not because she died, but because she stood. The great creature rose slowly, her frame trembling but proud. She looked down at Lucy and touched her head gently with her trunk, a gesture of thanks. Elijah stood back, stunned. He hadn't seen such resilience since. Alara. That's when he checked the ID mark hidden beneath the old paint. His hands shook. This was Alara. The same elephant his wife had saved, stolen after the sanctuary fire, believed lost. She had found her way back, not just to safety, but to the one man who still carried his wife's memory, and to the little girl who needed saving just as much. Now, Alara lives on Dr. Rivers' refuge, where Lucy visits every day, eventually adopted by the man who once believed he had nothing left to give. They say when Lucy left now, Alara lifts her trunk in joy, like she remembers. Because sometimes, the broken don't find each other by accident. They're led, trunk to hand, soul to soul.